Welcome to Roofing Road Trips, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling journey across the world of roofing. From fascinating interviews with roofing experts to on-the-road adventures, we'll uncover the stories, innovations, and challenges that shape the rooftops over our heads. So fasten your seatbelts and join us as we embark on this exciting roofing road trip.
Hello and welcome to Roofing Road Trips from Roofers Coffee Shop. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and I tell you what, all of these road trips, I get so excited, especially when I can talk to somebody from Canada virtually to really talk about one of the things that I believe is so important today, and that's our systems and processes. As we look at a world that is ever changing with AI, politics, ups and downs, little soft economy now and then, there's really nothing more important than making sure that our systems, our processes, what we're doing every day, it makes sense and is the highest productivity possible. So we wanted to talk about that a little bit. So we did ask our friend Adam San, who is from Canada, to come and visit with us today. Adam, welcome to Roofers. Let me say that again. Adam, welcome to Roofing Road Trips.
Yeah, thank you. It's exciting to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with people and to get to connect with you.
I know. I love it. And from the first time I met you and heard what you do, I've just been so enthralled because it's just such an important part of everything that we're doing. So let's start with that. If you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background, and then tell us about your business.
Yeah. Well, my background, it's a good story. I know you've already heard it, but, we just kind of went, I had a life that took me everywhere. At the military, the oil rigs, I was a bodyguard. I sold vacuum cleaners door to door. I sold cars. I never thought I'd end up in the roofing industry. I owned tanning salons. So I've had a lot of experiences, but my dad, when I was a kid, he said that, Adam, you got to learn how to do two things: read and use a computer. I was born in 1984 when the whole Apple computers came out with the 1984, that kind of famous ad. And my parents just made me use computers a lot. So I had no intention of ending up in roofing. My best friend at the time was a roofer and never had any money. And I thought, well, why don't you start a roofing company? And so I ended up helping him start a roofing business. And then I got involved. And then that led to, me trying to solve problems from an outsider's perspective. We did a bunch of innovative things. This is 2016, 2017. So I got interviewed a whole bunch between 2017, 2018, which meant that a bunch of roofers, when they were Googling stuff that I would like just Googling stuff, they heard I was doing it. And it turned into a business called Roofing Business Partner. And now we're a systems and consulting firm that helps roofing companies build their revenue engines. So we talk to a lot of people who are great at roofing, great at sales, but they've built something real, but they're usually hitting a ceiling, right? And when the business owners kind of get to that place, we try and bring, now that we've worked with over $1 billion in roofing revenue, we've got some operational fluency. That means we understand roofing and tech, which is hard to find. You can find really good nerds, or you can find people who know a lot about roofing, but then you have to try and get those two people to talk. And we've built a team of around 20 people that, we hired tech people and taught them roofing, and we took about roofing people and taught them tech. And so now we can kind of put these unified platforms that connect sales, production, finance, marketing, all of that onto one truth, so they can get predictable growth.
I love it. So smart. And it's really what the industry needs. What are you seeing right now? Talking to all of these contractors that you talk to all the time, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing with roofing companies trying to grow right now?
Well, you said it at the top of the call, the softer economy. A lot of people are realizing that they took their eyes off of, important fundamentals. They were living in an always growing, constant inflation, money printing type security world. And that bubble has popped for many people. And so you're seeing that we are living in a different market. Roofing's now an equity market. There are people who are thinking about roofing in terms of, decades, not days. And there will be winners and losers. And there being confronted with that. I think the competition is getting a lot stiffer. There are people who just can't, like, I have this saying that gets me in trouble, and I don't know why I keep saying it because it hasn't made me very many friends, but I've always said like 80% of roofers don't have a right to exist. And that, I mean, it's a good headline, but what it means is that you don't have a right to be successful. And if you're not successful, then why exist, right? Like there is no, like, you have to earn the right to be successful. And that is happening, like that invisible hand of capitalism is working every day. And so that might bubble to the top in like trendy things like, oh, ChatGPT is running ads, or I get an AI agent to do that, you know, to answer my phone, or, you know, e-commerce. What does that mean? Those are, you know, the surface level issues. But the underlying piece of it is that there is this realm of like charging what we like. There needs to be disruption in the roofing industry, and it's happening. And a lot of people don't want to see that happen.
Right. You know what? That's true. And that disruption, I think, is really important for our growth. I've been watching it. I've been like you know, I've been watching it for many, many years. And what we've seen, or what I've seen, is, to your point of the roofing companies that make it or don't make it, is the companies that are willing to look to the future and invest in technology and embrace it are the companies that are winning the race. And it's just no question. I talked to so many contractors over the years who are like, I'm not going to do that. Well, they're doing it now because they have to. There's just no question. And now with AI, that's going to change everything even further. Economy's up and down, comes and goes, depending on where you're at, what's happening. But this AI and the technology boom again is going to really push contractors to understand their systems. So let's talk a little bit. I just want, just to kind of level set for everybody, I would love for you to talk about what you do with contractors with your business. I'm a new contractor, Adam. What am I going to experience?
Well, if you're a new contractor, you're probably not going to come to us. Okay. We tend to work with people who have felt enough pain of working with, like, you know, the places that you go when you're starting out. What I would say that we do is we build a single source of truth system into your business. So that is a tool. Now, you can get any tool, right? CRM or whatever. Like, doesn't matter. Job Nimbus, AccuLinks, Zuper, HubSpot, doesn't matter. Tools don't matter as much as processes. So years ago, after working with a lot of companies, I went 20 months straight on the road, like 20 months during COVID, a month to 3 months at a different roofing company for 20 months straight. But I was doing it for years. I stopped and looked at what every roofing company was doing that was like really successful. And I looked for commonalities, and I found there was like 3 frameworks that all of my most successful customers did. Like when you took all the lipstick off, there's 3 core operating frameworks that they ran on. And so I said, okay, well, the tool doesn't matter as much as the process in which the tool is intended to be used. No different than a hammer, you know, is worth much more in the hands of a carpenter than a pianist, right? Like, and then a veterinarian. So the process in which you use the tool is better. So then we started to say, okay, not only are we going to build you the tool, so the CRM or whatever, we're going to tell you how you should run your company, which usually is a big ego problem. So change management, ego, these things are friction points in our business. And every time that I don't find someone that's willing to change or willing to, not put their own creative flair into how they run the business, and just roofing is like backyard football, just 2 fat guys in the middle, button left, run it in the end zone. Like, it's not like, this is not hard. But then the process only matters as much as the adoption. So then we really realized that we could build a tool, we could tell you how to run the company, but if we didn't train your people and train you and support that, then everything we did had a higher risk of failure. So it's really tools, processes, and training. That's what we do. We don't, there are 3 legs of a stool. Some companies do training, but they don't build tools. Some companies sell tools or build tools, but they don't provide a process. They just like, yeah, we'll help you set it up however you want. And some companies will talk about like process and give you like good fundamental like operating frameworks, but they won't train your team or they won't build a tool to support or a system to wrap around that process. So we realized just trying to reduce the failure rate of our customers to have desperate protection over our brand and our reputation meant that we just had to become militant on all three legs of that stool.
That makes so much sense. So it really is going to start, as all good things do, with discovery. Really for you and your team to understand that contractor's business, where they're at in the maturity level, on their path, and what all they have. Talk to me just a little bit about that discovery of really understanding and helping that contractor understand where they're at. Yeah.
So there's phases to it. When we first start out, before selling them anything, I want to invest, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours meeting with them to really learn what their goals are. I don't want to help you make your first dollar. I want to help you make everything up to and including your last dollar. Because the amount of work that it takes to do what we do, every time we sell the wrong customer, we regret it and we look bad because at the end of the day, we're the ones who took the money. Yeah. So I really want to pick our customers a lot better and focus on, aligning with the people who are going to really enjoy what we do. And then after that, we have some steps in our 12-week kind of onboarding plan. One of which is solution extraction. This really focuses on change management. So a company might want certain buttons and features in their CRM at the leadership level, but the employees don't always understand, like, why are we having to change CRMs or why are we doing things differently? So we ask a series of questions, about 20 things from like, if you could wave a magic wand and make your day better, what would you do? And, what's the thing that keeps you up at night? Or what is a part of your day that gets negatively impacted by the work of another person? When we curate those surveys, what that does, it allows us to say, hey, Bob, remember that thing you don't like doing? We fixed that. We were going to build it anyway. But now Bob feels like it's his idea. The other thing that we do is a process called ops inventory collection, which is where it's about 200 to 300 questions, depending on, whether they do commercial and insurance and whatnot. But it's where we take a complete inventory of their operation. And this really informs current state and potential future state and what gaps are there so that we can solve for it. And the final thing that I think we do that works really well is what we call value extraction. And this is where we really learn about the owner's story. And this helps my team fall in love with the company a little bit because we hear a lot about, we ask a lot of questions like, tell us about the first big roof you ever sold. Tell us about the first time you hired an employee. Tell me about the first time you started paying for leads. These stories help us really fall in love with the human being behind this company. And then every bit of design proposal that we do, like when we build out your proposal for your software, so you have a guided, repeatable sales process, the DNA of the company is in there. The brand of the company is in there. Same thing with the emails. The people want automated emails and text messages and follow up and all these automations. And that should speak like you, speak like your company. It shouldn't feel like something I pulled off the template that I give to everybody else, but it should feel like you. So solution extraction, ops, inventory, and value extraction, those three things really translate into my company and my team really feeling like an extension of your team.
Yeah. You know what? I in case anybody's watching this and you see me, I grab my notebook. I think everybody out there should grab their notebook and write down, fall in love with your customer, know their story. Everybody kind of talks about that a little bit, Adam, but the way you said that by hearing their stories, understanding the stories of how the business began, you fall in love with that customer. And how much more do you get out of that experience for everybody involved, for the customer and the people?
We've had 3 roofers cry on that call to date that I know of. And my team's crying, the whole room is just bawling, right? Because we're hearing about, a guy who 20 years ago, came to this country as an immigrant, worked as an undocumented on a crew, had really bad leadership that forced them to live in a house with 17 other people. He learned about the exterior building envelope. He was kind of doing everything. And then he really liked the roofing. And then so he found a roofing company he could work for. And then there he was exploited as well. But then he fought and he passed his naturalization exam and became a green card holder or whatever, and worked his way to the point where he could finally start a business. And he built a roofing company. And now, he's just trying to create an environment where more people that are coming from outside this country can work for him. And he's telling us the stories, and we're crying. And I wasn't on the call, but my team's crying and he's crying, because now we can see there's a meaning behind the business that goes beyond we put shingles on people's houses.
Yeah. Oh man. I love that. I'm not going to start crying, but I'm close. I love that. That is just so awesome. Okay, let's talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit more about the technology behind all of this. So you've done the discovery, you know the people, you know what they have, where they're at, you know their story. And now you have to really kind of sit down and map out this process for them for success. But really, it starts with that technology. So is it always about changing your CRM? Is it always about changing and kind of creating this, or do you sometimes integrate? How does that work?
We have the most leverage when we meet a roofing company where that is the problem. So I'm not unaware of the fact that when you're a hammer, everything can look like a nail. We've gone through that journey as a company and realized that sometimes we meet a business and it's like the problem that you have is not your changing of your CRM. And like, if you pay me all this money and you don't solve the other problem, this will just be an expensive way to find out how important that other problem is. So
love it.
Technology without process is just expensive chaos. And we really view technology as a lever. Technology is really about making the business feel more human. So it automates the boring stuff and creates accountability around the stuff that can be inspectable. And so when you look at technology as its impact on the North Star metric of every roofing company, which is revenue per capita. So every roofing company, like residential, commercial has a different set of metrics, but residential roofing companies need to earn $650,000 per $85,000 in payroll. Because when you take the 60%-ish cost of goods sold out, and then you take that $85,000 out, you have $175,000 left over to grow the company. You're going to spend 5% to 8% on marketing, 8% or so on commissions. So by the time you take those two out, you got like 80 grand to actually run the business per 650,000 in revenue. Now, our customers tend to be 770 to 950 because all we're doing is we're saying, let's use technology as a lever on human effort. And so the role that technology is supposed to play is that you take away the things that make work unfulfilling. Now more than ever with the emergence of AI, this isn't just another AI podcast. I get dragged down this path so often, but because I am such a tech guy that people want to hear that. But the point of all of it, AI, machine learning, or just automation, all the way up that value chain, it's just about making the business able to feel more human, so that the humans aren't stuck doing stuff that isn't fulfilling or rewarding, so that you can reallocate that energy towards the things that actually make customers happy.
So we've been having these same conversations about AI and its role and where it works and what it should be doing. And like you said, making customers happy, but also, again, to your earlier point, making employees happy too, right?
Yeah.
Fulfilled and getting things done.
There are jobs all over the market that are going to be replaced by AI. No different than how a sewing machine replaced the seamstress, right? Like Sally the seamstress's job changed a lot, 130 years ago to about 50 years ago, and now they just don't exist. AI is going to do that. But here's the thing, I don't really think that certain jobs in a company are really fulfilling for people. And I'll give you an example for that, might make it make sense. When I was traveling around the country, I was deploying inside-outside sales. So that's a process, right? Mm-hmm. You need a system that can allow for two stakeholders to be involved in the deal, for the right person to get the right information at the right time, to make it so an internal party inside the office and an external party out on the roof can know what each other is doing and be geolocationally aware of where they are. Like, you need a tool and a system to do that. But here's the thing, the sales business, right, kind of has an archetype, right? Most sales guys, chisel jaw, sleeve tattoo, smells like cigarettes, like we got an archetype, right? And I met a woman, she was 36. She was the office custodian for random construction companies for 18 years. She was a single mom of an 11-year-old son or daughter. I think it was a son. And she was in the office where people would just dump stuff on her desk. And she was just the janitor of junk paper for her whole life.
Jeez.
When she heard about inside sales, she's like, do you think I could do that? And I was like, I think anybody's worth a chance. So she tried it out.
Yeah.
And a year later, I went back. This woman had bought her first house that she had ever owned because of the ability to earn $100,000 a year in inside sales. I did another company where a guy got a job in this company as they rolled out inside sales. And this company took the tax advantage of hiring people with disabilities. And this guy showed up. I remember I was waiting outside the office at like 7 a.m. before it opened. And this is in like northern Minnesota. And this guy gets off the DATS bus, the Disabled Transportation Service bus, and he's pushing his way through the snow, and he's got his gloves on, and his gloves are sliding on the rails of the wheelchair as he's pushing his way through 4 inches of snow. So I run up because I saw the jacket. I'm like, here, I'll put, because I knew he was coming to the same place. So I pushed him up to the place. He came in. I went back like 6 months. No, it would have been like a year and a half later. I went back a bit later. Same guy's there. And he buzzes, I'm talking to the owner, and he buzzes around behind me, and he's got a powered wheelchair now, and everybody in the inside sales room had standing desks, and he would have to sit, but now his wheelchair would lift him up so he could stand. And at the end of the day, I'm standing outside there where everybody's smoking. He goes by, the door of a Toyota Sienna opens up the back, a ramp falls out. He drives up into this thing, latches his wheelchair down, peels out of the parking lot. Like, this guy would take a bullet for his business. So so when you combine the right process with the right technology, you can open up this industry to people who had never been here before, who will appreciate it, and you can change lives with this industry, because the roofing sales was not open to either of those two parties, and both of them had their life changed by doing it. Do I get 1% of the credit? Sure. You know what I mean? But like, that's what keeps me going, is seeing how this technology can play a critical role in making a business run by people feel more human and deliver more for the humans that work there.
I love it. I love it. That is so true. And I see it. I see the same thing. I see the same thing out there. Roofing is part of that is roofing. It is amazing when people get in, they never leave. And if you find the right companies, it's just the loyalty is off the charts. So, but I want to talk just a little bit about the technology tools. So when we do have to do things, there's such as Zuper is one of the ones you mentioned earlier that you're working with. Talk to me a little bit about that and the overall tools, technology tools that you're working with and that you're suggesting contractors really be looking at.
Yeah. Most of the technology in the roofing space is like, well, I had a roofing company, and then I realized that the tools we had sucked. So then I went and spent some money on some developers and made one, and then we made something that's better. Buy it from me. I got a booth at the trade show. Zuper is what would happen if Silicon Valley had a bad experience with a tradesperson and decided to make a software to fix it. So the CEO was a head of product for Microsoft. Like, his understanding of the software development lifecycle is off the chart. So when I'm looking at software, is to my company has to build for roofing companies. So we have a factory that's spitting out software. Think of like a factory spitting out Toyota Corollas. If I want to change my factory to spit out F-150s, it's a huge ordeal. So whenever we think about representing a software, it is a massive undertaking. Like, we looked at and interviewed Zuper every 3 or 4 days from April till November. And the stuff that they're doing is unbelievable. And the rate at which they develop is so fast, and the quality. So Zuper is really cool because it's kind of like we were prompted into needing to do it because SumoQuote was stopping the servicing of customers outside of the CRM that bought them. So now if you're a SumoQuote user, you were getting a letter in the mail saying that, not a letter in the mail, but an email saying you were getting canceled, you couldn't use it. Well, Job Progress was bought by Leap. Roofar made their own. Job Nimbus bought Sumo Quote. Like, where was the quoting tool for if you weren't using one of the three main CRMs? So that's what prompted us to start looking. And Zuper, we've known about them for 2 years, but they came out of the woodwork and not only solved our Sumo Quote problem, but they have Company Cam, Sumo Quote, Arrivee, inventory, phone, like everything that that you'd expect in one place, on top of like the basics in CRM and field service and everything. And I would say that what's exciting about them is that Service Titan is trying to make inroads to roofing, but Service Titan is a service contractor software for people who go and sell an air conditioner and install it. Not a guy who comes and does a 40-minute presentation that orders 4,000 pounds of material to your roof next week, and then 6 dudes that might not even work at that company, like as far as like W-2, come and install the roof. It's totally different business. I would say that Zuper, to make it simplified, Zuper is the Service Titan of roofing.
Okay. Wow. And this is a new name that you are working with very closely to help contractors adopt.
Yes. So we build Zupers for roofing companies. So we used to build, to get what Zuper would do, we needed multiple softwares before. And we connected to HubSpot for, the reasons of getting marketing attribution, the high power of HubSpot as a sales tool. And you can use Zuper as a standalone CRM as well. But, and we help roofers make the decision of navigating all that. But yeah, Zuper is just a piece of software that I have waited 4 years for someone to make. And I feel like the roofing industry was so, I don't know, it's such a boys club in a way that like nobody had to be radically innovative, that it kind of needed a Netflix moment where an outsider would come in and just be like, you've had an 8-year head start and that's as far as you got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I'll catch up to you in 8 months. And that's what Zuper did.
Wow. So again, exciting.
Head of product for Microsoft, like his understanding of how to run a software company and to develop a product is just at the $1 billion level. So it's like, so he basically said, well, I'm never going to own Microsoft, but I could take everything I've learned for 15 years or 20 years or whatever it is, and I can apply that to an industry where the biggest player is like 300 million.
We've known it was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen. And, I say this a lot because, and I probably, like you said, don't make a lot of friends because of this, but I'm always like, when there's that big of a gap, something's going to fill it in. And so we talk about that a lot with the labor shortage, right? With we don't have the skilled labor. Technology will fill that gap. It's just what happens. If humans don't fill it, technology is going to fill it. And I think we see the same thing when problems aren't being solved, efficiencies are not being had, then other softwares are going to come in, like Zuper and like the somebody who's been with Microsoft who knows exactly what's going on. So for everyone out there, check this out. I mean, this is the next wave, and we're going to be seeing a lot of this. But to really get your arms around it, and this is the part I love, Adam, that you are offering, is the ability to work with contractors to incorporate the software or look at the solutions. Like you said, it's not always just about software technology, but it's about having that overall discovery. So how do contractors, what's that process? How do they get a hold of you, and how do they kind of start learning or going through that discovery, that evaluation phase?
Yeah, very simple. Just go to roofingbusinesspartner.com. There's forms all over the website, right? Lots of ways to convert there, but and you just send an inquiry, and someone from my team is going to reach out, do an initial 5-10 minute. Could be me if I know the company, but then we'll get you on a quick call, right? Usually it's about 15 or 30 minutes. And that's usually just to like get through the big red flags, right? And then if it makes sense that like you see the world the same way, we do, then it warrants continuing to go down. And I would rather invest, 3 hours up front and really understanding your business, your goals, and like not make any money and give you advice where I can, but then use that to develop a plan for how we're going to grow your business together. I'd rather go about it that way. I just actually revisited with a guy named Jeffrey Linta. I spent like 4.5 hours with him last year, talked about, not even last year, 2.5 years ago, and like never went anywhere with it, right? And then this year found out he has like done a whole lot of great stuff. A lot of it is stuff we talked about, and he came back and he's engaging with us on a different project. And I think that this one is one that, because he was going to have a baby at the time, so he, wasn't the right time for him to work with us. Like, it's not like he was a bad guy or anything. He was having a baby. Now that baby is 1.5 years old or something, or 1 year old, and now he's re-engaging with us. But I'm glad that those few hours of calls resulted in Linta Roofing doing so well, because it only means that now we get to work on a level 4 problem together instead of a level 2 problem.
Right. We have that all the time. And you said this early on. Contractors need to be at a point where they can identify problems, they understand what they want, they know their goals, they know where they're going, and you can be part of that all the way through their last dollar. I like that, what you said. Well, Adam, thank you. Thank you for educating us on all the new stuff that's out there. And really, really thank you for caring about the roofing industry, caring about the stories, and helping people to be successful. We need more of you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Heidi. It's a pleasure to be here. Hopefully we meet some people from it.
Oh, you will. You will. They'll be talking to you. So please, everyone, get the information. Get a hold of Adam on the directory on Roofers Coffee Shop. You can find articles, podcasts, all kinds of great things that they've been doing to help you be successful. This is really, it's not just about where you buy that next software. It's about having a plan and making sure that you're working the plan across the board. And that's really what you need. So please check it out. Check out all of our podcasts under the Read, Listen, Watch navigation. Be sure to subscribe and set those notifications so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be seeing you next time on Roofing Road Trips.
If you've enjoyed the ride, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us on every roofing adventure. Make sure to visit rooferscoffeeshop.com to learn more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next Roofing Road Trip.